Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm gonna interview Dr. Pills. Now he's with me, and we're gonna talk about the use of hemp as a raw material for industries. So I've researched, and it says is that the main extraction of the hemp is the cellulose.
See,
So the cellulose is the principal raw material of the cannabis for the industry.
for years and years.
So with this, I would like to know which type of cannabis do we use, because I've researched that we have cannabis sativa, indica, and rudelaris. So for the extraction of hemp, for the posterior extraction of cellulose, which one do you recommend us to use?
The one that has been used, well, thank you first for the questions, and all three of them have been used. All the different varieties of marijuana or cannabis have been used at one time or another for hemp. The idea is that the fibers, the wood fibers in cannabis are very long, and so it makes very good rope or very fine cloth. And it's been always used for things like covering tables or sheets. The idea of linen is some of it is cannabis, and what it is that because the plant has these long fibers, wood fibers in the stem, that it's probably been used as a rope or as a string or as cloth maybe 10,000 years. Yeah, it's one of the first plants to be domesticated, not only because of its drug, but because, more importantly, because it was the first kind of rope or lasso that one could use for tying things onto animals or for clothing. They actually made clothing out of it.
And you said that the fibers, the long fibers, are the ones that give the characteristic
It makes for good rope, yes,
so
or linen.
That kind of fiber is the same as the tree fibers, like.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. All of the cannabis have the same. Now, what you want to do is, for legal reasons, they usually try to find a cannabis that is very low in some of the drugs. And so this is another thing. Cannabis, not all cannabis is the same in terms of the amount of THC and other drugs it has in it. So what they do is they look for a cannabis of the maybe 100 varieties. There's not just 3, there's probably 100. And they look for a variety that has very low drug content, and therefore it's easier to justify.
Okay, because that's right, because I researched and I saw that cannabis sativa usually has to have the biggest amount of THC, but cannabis rudelaris they has not. They just reach like 15% of THC, but the size of the plant wasn't tall enough. So
Okay, that's the other thing.
some people.
You need production.
Mhm.
So it's always a balance between a plant that's going to grow quickly, grow because it's just one more crop. It's like corn or like wheat or like rice. You can grow it, instead of growing it for food or growing it for fruit, you grow it for fiber, cotton. Why do we grow cotton?
To clothe.
For the fiber, yeah. And so the same thing, we grow cannabis for the fiber. And so the other things you don't want, I mean, because you don't want people stealing your crop so that they can smoke it.
Yeah, but I also want to know how many times that it takes from the plant to
To grow?
yeah, to grow until we have like the enough fiber, because I know
About 3 months,
at 3 months.
100 days.
Because I saw that for the production of fiber, it has to be harvested before the floration.
Yeah.
Floration.
Yeah. No, you can do it later, but once it starts to flower, it quits growing. And so it's like with humans. Once we're sexually mature, we pretty much stop growing. We keep growing until we become sexually mature, and when we become sexually mature, we kind of stop growing. A baby grows and grows and grows till it gets to be 15, 16, and it starts to become sexually mature. And then once it becomes sexually mature, it doesn't grow much anymore. I mean, in height anyway. And so it's the same thing with cannabis. And so it'll grow quickly when it's young, but when it gets older, it just slows down because it's puts all of its energy into the flower.
Okay, so like we are here in Honduras, I want to know like the social economic benefit or impact that it will have. But I see that here in Honduras, the main crop that we have here is corn. So many people have like trouble with insects and all the like the things that attack corn. So can we take in consideration cannabis to have in order to get a crop rotation for mitigate those I don't know how to say.
Yeah, the other problems.
The other problems, and does it have like any economic? I don't know. It could be economic.
The problems are economic and political, not agricultural. Because agriculturally, it'd be easy to grow marijuana or cannabis for fiber. And there's still some people that want it. The market is not very big because what happens now is we make a lot of our fiber products from petroleum. And so like the string and kabuya and things like that we use, not many use the original plants anymore. They use petroleum products. And so the price has gone down. It used to be that there was a very good price for this, but now because of the artificial oil produced products, it's possible to make cheap plastics. I mean, just very inexpensive. And so the problem is economic, is that you could grow it, but people might not want to pay too much money. And so the only people that would really be interested are people that want fine cloth, like linens, or they just want the idea that this is something beautiful. I mean, because it is, it feels. I mean, the cloth is a very nice cloth. It's like cotton. It feels different than the shirts that are made with cotton and plastic. And so, like this has a lot of plastic in it. It's not pure cotton. And whereas the linen, the one made from cannabis, it's a very lovely feeling. It's a very good quality, high quality, but very expensive. So the problems then are economic. I mean,
and do you think that that the countries that doesn't depend of economic of petroleum should see the cannabis like a way to have?
It's a niche market, a small market. It's like the same with garden vegetables. I mean, there are still people that can grow like 100 square meters of cabbage, and that's enough. They can live very well just growing with a small field. Whereas I can remember in California where I grew up, when we had tomatoes, we had 20, 30, 40 hectares of tomatoes. But you take them to a factory, and here there's no factory. I mean, there's one factory in Comayagua.
Yeah, but if we have like the whole process, the factory, and all the stuff, do you see
You
like
need all that.
you can see like a little bit of progress in that
Yeah.
niche?
You would need to have centers of excellence, like, I mean, we see it with places like Valle de Angeles and the tourist places, where they have tourists, where they have places where you can buy things for tourists, okay? But if you go down to the Puesto de Venta, you're not gonna find anything. And so what it is that these different businesses, you form a cluster. And so you could form a cluster of people interested in cannabis. Or you could form a cluster of people interested in tomatoes and put a factory in. I mean, in the sense that now if you want to put your tomatoes into ketchup or into something, where do you go? There's not very many factories, really good ones. So we lack the whole infrastructure.
And also, what I researched is that cannabis production doesn't have like problems with CO2 emissions because it comes from the biomass.
Yeah.
So it's the same biomass that we extract, that if we burn it or
Yeah, it's
use it
circular.
Okay, so and also it says that we can have the same amount of fiber in 1 hectare of cannabis than in 4.6 hectare of trees, of forestal trees.
Okay.
So
Much denser.
it's because of the density.
You can put the plants much closer together. Yeah.
Okay. So and also, what other products for the industry can we take about from cannabis that doesn't be the fiber, like any other products?
No, there's obviously the drugs. And the drugs will become, again, that's a political and economic problem, but there will be more use of cannabis for certain types of sicknesses. They're finding that it's very useful for treating certain types of cancer, certain types of epilepsy, and with more research, I have a feeling that some of the things, the brain disorders that now seem to be incurable, that don't have a way, they're finding ways to control these conditions using drugs like cannabis. Not just cannabis, but other drugs like that are what we call psychoactive, drugs that affect your brain.
I also researched that the cannabis oil is extracted from the seed.
Yeah.
So if we want to have the seed, we have to let the plant pass that stage.
It would have to flower.
So and the flower is the cycle.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't have to harvest the flower. You could harvest just the seed.
Okay. Okay, so with this interview, I'm done. So
Okay.
We have Mr. Pills and
Thank
so,
you.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Okay, got some things to do.
Yeah.